This is Troy from Cleveland, and you are listening to the greatest Browns podcast that there is, Dawgs Podcast. Let's kick this thing off. Woof, 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 woof. Woof, 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 woof.
Welcome to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Zach Kopp, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Dawgs. If you'd like to get your intro on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. We want to thank Troy for that intro. We've had that one for a little bit, finally able to get it on, but we're officially out, so we need more. So make sure you guys, this show's fun with participation, so make sure you guys jump on there and leave us some fun ones. Season's hitting. There's some cool stuff to talk about, too, so if you just want to get some thoughts on the show, again, thedogspodcast.com and tap leave voicemail. You leave an intro, and you can just drop some thoughts for us.
That's true. We always talk about leaving an intro, but we never remind everybody, you can leave a voicemail with your thoughts or takes or a question for us, whatever you want to do, and we'll play them. We've
done that in the past, and it was good, so we can get back into that. The Browns got a gritty, ugly win this week. We got a lot to get into. Before we get into all that, remember to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you're watching on YouTube, remember to like and subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Lastly, if you're looking for some extra content to get you through the week, head to jointhedawgs.com. Become an official Dog Pack member on our Patreon page. We got fantasy leagues going on, game day threads. It's just a good time in there. It's just everybody who loves the Browns. So make sure you head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member.
In the Doghouse.
Listen, let me say something to you as a friend. You suck.
So normally we start with what went right, but I think the story of this game is what went wrong. And, obviously we get a 14-7 win on the road against a team who might be 1-3, but I think we all think they're better than their 1-3 record. But so, in the NFL, it's kind of like you are what your record is. But so we're never going to scoff at being 3-1. And the fact that we were able to go in, not play our greatest, and come out with a win over a team like that, that's good for the Browns. But there's bad, and we have to talk about the bad. And I think it starts with what's going on with Baker Mayfield.
Man, I feel like that's the question, man.
Loaded question.
Big time.
I don't know. He hasn't been. Last week he wasn't horrible, but you could tell that there was just something that was off. But
if you go
this
back,
week is totally different.
So he was great against the Chiefs.
Yes,
but everybody has been.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts just lit him up for almost 400, and he almost didn't break 100 against Dallas for the longest time till they just started playing prevent defense. So he looked great against them. Against the Texans, he was, I think, 19-21, but nothing flashy, nothing terrible, one pick, and then he got hurt on that pick. And then the next week, he was, I think, 19-31, still like 60% of his passes, but he missed some throws. And we were like, Baker wasn't awful, but, there's a couple throws he'd like to have back. And then this week, the only reason I'm not calling this his worst game as a pro is because he didn't turn the ball over.
Well, we've seen some bad Baker Mayfield games, especially that
this was bad. This was super bad.
It was, and he's really screwing me in my bowl prediction with all those yards and touchdowns that he's not getting right now. I mean, come on.
I don't
touchdowns, 155 yards. What's going on?
So the only thing that I could see as a factor that I don't know if it's playing, obviously he's going to come out and say it's not, but if the shoulder is any type of an ailment that he's having, that's just maybe it's a range of motion type of thing where he doesn't have it 100%, but he's not the type of guy who's going to come out and say, oh, I'm missing all those passes because my left shoulder's killing me because I popped it back in, went right back into the game. I don't know if that's affecting him. It's not his throwing arm.
No, but I'm praying that's it. Because since the injury, it's been a pretty steady decline. He was efficient against the Chiefs, but nothing crazy. He was less efficient against the Bears, but there was a tough defense, and he didn't turn it over. And then he just bought it. This was a tire fire. This was as bad as you could be as a professional quarterback in the NFL, minus throwing a bunch of picks. That's what saved him from this being like an absolute just disgrace.
It wasn't pretty. Go ahead.
So I don't know. Maybe we're overreacting just a little bit there. This is like I literally watched Zach Wilson throw 4 picks and have like 100 yards.
That's what I'm saying.
It could be worse.
It could be worse. It couldn't be much worse.
I've watched Baker throw 3 picks and a half. It can be worse. It can be worse.
I think the thing that we might be glossing over though in that, looking at it that way, is Zach Wilson's a rookie.
Yeah. No,
first time head coach, first time in the system, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Baker, this is year 4.
This is make or break time.
Make or breaker?
Yeah.
Baker? Yeah. So I don't even have kids. I lost my train of thought. Thanks, guys.
You're comparing this to Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, it's the second year in Stefanski's system.
And look at the
fourth year in the league.
And I know Jarvis is out now, but he's had Odell the last 2 weeks. He's still got a great line with Will, even though they need to sit Wills.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I think that plays into it because
Baker is playing. Week 1, he was stepping up in the pocket, looked really crisp. I mean, the last 2 weeks, it's kind of like 2019 Baker again, where he's getting happy feet. He's just bailing very quickly. I mean, the play that sticks out a lot to me, other than the 2 to Odell. I mean, my God, they should have been walk-in touchdowns for Odell. And one, he missed him by 20 feet, and the other one, he threw it so bad it hit the corner in the back. I mean, that's embarrassing.
Back of the head, right?
Yeah, back of the head, like
back of the helmet.
Shoulder. Yeah. I'm like, what are we doing? Was the play on 3rd and 2, and he rolls out and just refused to throw it to Felton?
There was 2 plays like that. There was one where Felton was standing at the sticks.
Yes.
Nobody around him. Nobody even close, and Baker wouldn't throw the ball to him.
To run.
And there was another one later on where Kareem Hunt did the same thing. He was at the sticks. Now, there were defenders, but he could have hit him for first down. He was not covered.
And there was another play where Odell kind of ran like a 10 to 15 yard dig, and he got some pressure out, and if he just steps up and Odell's wide open. Instead, he tucks it away and starts running. We're seeing bad habits again, and is it because he's injured and he doesn't want to take hits and he's afraid to get hit, so he's got a little bit of happy feet right now? I don't know, but he's got to get it corrected quickly. I'm not going to overreact to one game, because until this point, I know the last couple of weeks it's been not as crisp as it was week 1, but he's still getting the job done. So I'm not going to overreact and say he's awful now after he just played like 15 great games in a row, and everybody's entitled to have one bad one. But this was bad.
I think that another aspect of kind of what went wrong, and it's kind of been the last 2 weeks, is our offensive line hasn't been great. It's not like Will's being on the one side, and then we have been susceptible to giving up pressure from defensive ends that makes Baker. So, like, you can see it in the game. Baker drops back deeper because he's so short. And then if there's any pressure from the inside, Baker has never been a guy that steps up in the pocket and really drills, a perfect pass. He's a guy that does do the whole, like, ducking, getting out of the way, doing a little spin, Russell Wilson type spin move to get to the outside and roll out and then throw across your body and make a really good throw. And I think that what the Vikings did and what the Bears kind of did is they said, we're not going to give you those little 5-yard, 8-yard passes where they're wide open type of a thing. They're making him throw 15, 20 yards downfield. And obviously he's not as accurate right now doing that. So I credit the game plan a little bit from the Vikings. I think that they defensively played really well. I know Baker missed some throws, but I thought the Vikings played well on defense.
And we touched on this too. We knew what they were going to do, and they knew what we were going to do. So did that play a part into both defenses looking pretty good? It could have. But the Vikings did play well defensively, but also at the same time, we left at least 2 touchdowns on the board.
No, right.
That's
and more. Yeah. If we talk about some other things that went wrong,
like down to 4 in like the
going for it so many times on 4th down. I like being aggressive.
That's the analytics.
But there's some times where taking the points, like I get it. You march all the way down the field and you're thinking, I just want to go for it. We're right there. And, like you said, analytics is telling you that, the book says go for it. Sometimes taking the points, though, I feel like we give a lot of points up.
Here's my problem, though, is if we execute, we get those. It's not like the 4th down tries are just getting stuffed. Last week we tried it on 4th twice, and they were busted plays.
Right.
We're not executing we don't look as buttoned up and as sharp.
As we should. Yeah.
You know, like we got some untimely penalties. I don't feel like we're having a ton of penalties, but it's pre-snap penalties shouldn't happen. It's pre-snap penalties are so frustrating. We're getting false starts, offsides, and then, you know, busted plays on fourth down tries. The defense has kind of like made some serious strides the last 2 weeks that we're going to get into. The offense has not looked good the last couple of weeks.
No, and speaking of those pre-snap penalties, I mean, Hudson had a drive killer, right? Weren't we? I think it was 4th and 2. Weren't we going to go for it?
And we had to punt.
Yeah, and we ended up having to punt because it was 4th and 7 after he jumped.
Started.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just so I posed this question. You know, we're not going to overreact, but you know, this is a fun podcast question. I put it on here and I said, to this point, hang on, my computer fell asleep. Here we go. I said, to this point in the season, if the season were to end right now, has Baker Mayfield earned his contract extension?
I absolutely hate that we have to talk about this question because we didn't get things taken care of before the season. Because if Baker, this is going to be the question, especially as the season gets later.
Especially if he continues to not play well.
Yeah, of like what happens? What do you do? Do you bring in another quarterback now, or do you sign Baker? What are you going to commit? Are you only going to commit to a year? And I wish we knew kind of like what was happening behind the scenes. Obviously, we don't. We're just kind of speculating. Maybe Baker's wanting way more money, or he's wanting a long term, and the Browns are saying no, we're going shorter and less money. We don't know those facts of kind of what's being discussed that's keeping it held up. But there's obviously something that has to be keeping it held up. Either the Browns aren't willing to give him a deal, and they're saying, you know, kind of what some Browns fans think of, hey, we're going to wait and see what happens because maybe we're not believers 100% right now.
So I'm going to preface what I'm about to say by saying I think Baker is going to turn it around, is going to bounce back, and he's going to be awesome, and we're going to do what we want to do. But to answer this question, if the season ended right now, I would not give him an extension.
Even though he's 3-1 as a quarterback for the Browns?
Correct.
For the Cleveland Browns?
Correct. Here's the thing. The barometer is not to be 3-1. The barometer is, can he win a Super Bowl?
Well, then I mean,
my goal is not to win a couple games. That's not the goal anymore.
I mean,
I would say right now, after week 4, I would give him an extension, but it wouldn't be the extension that I think Browns fans or what Baker Mayfield is looking for.
So what?
I don't think that it's going to be like a Josh Allen or a Lamar deal where you're getting 4 or 5 years and averaging 40-something million a year. That might not be the extension, but I think if Baker doesn't play well, like after this game, say this was the end of the season, like you've mentioned before, what other team is he going to go and be a starting quarterback for that's going to pay him that kind of money?
None.
You know, so the Cleveland Browns coming to you and saying, hey, we'll give you a 2-year deal and pay you $35 million. He might have to take that, you know, and then it gives him the chance, you know, if it's a shorter deal like that, prove it over the next 2 seasons, then maybe you get that big deal for, you know, another 3 years or something down the road.
To be honest, now would be, if I was the Browns, now's the time to go get this deal done.
I think you could save money.
Don't let him get hot. You know what I mean? Because you could go tell him right now, hey, we'll give you, you know, and I don't know if there's even a such thing as like a 2-year extension for, I don't even know if that's
I don't know.
But you could go try to lowball him and be like, well, fine, hit the open market.
Right.
Name a team that you think is going to give you that money. I can't think of a team that would give him that money.
It's going to be fine, guys.
God. I'm sitting over.
All I heard was don't panic. We're not going to panic. And I
got to answer Blake's hypothetical question.
To answer the question, do you think he's played well enough to earn an extension right now this year?
Would you pay him $40 million a year right now for the next 4 or 5 years and commit to him?
Based on what we saw through 4 games?
Yes.
It'd be real hard to.
Yeah. Right.
I think any contract talk beyond just the hypothetical after 4 games, yes or no, is kind of a moot point, kind of like Justin said before, because it's early, man. I mean, we can't overreact. We are 3-1. I mean, we are still 3-1. We got to remember that. And I'm telling you, I'm looking through the box score, and I you know, just flashing back to the game yesterday. We've got very, very limited weapons on offense right now. I mean,
so he should be able to use the one we have.
Now I was going to get to that. Now, I'm not blaming Odell at all here. Their chemistry, there's nothing there. There's nothing there, and there never has been. I don't know what it is between these guys. I mean, that pass at the end of the game, that they didn't connect on, I about broke my TV. I'm like, he's wide open. He's wide open.
So these two guys, it just kind of seems like every time there's a miscue, which 85% of the time there is a miscue of something that happens, the other one always blames it's almost like the blame. You see it like Odell's disgusted because he's wide open. And he feels like he should have caught the ball. And he just, takes his helmet off and just does this thing where he just bolts to the sideline on the one play. I forget, it was like on a 3rd down or something. And Baker tried to hit him deep and he missed him. And he just, straight to the sideline, helmet off, kind of, just shaking his head. And then, Baker, you look back at him and it's like, oh, Odell didn't run the right route or he broke something off, like it was Odell's fault. So I think that there's got to be some type of a riff there that you don't see that with Jarvis at all.
No.
You don't see that with Jarvis. You don't see it with Higgins. And I'm not saying Odell's the problem. I'm not saying Baker's the problem. But there's something between the two that they haven't been on the same page in 3 years?
He's got to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree, because you got to use that weapon. If you're not going to use that weapon, then you better get something.
I said something yesterday about
don't waste it.
I feel like Odell, and I'm not, and let me finish this because I'm not blaming Odell, but I feel like Odell is Baker's kryptonite. And I said that because I feel like when I'm watching Baker play, he is trying too hard to throw the ball to Odell. He's waiting too long for routes to develop, or he's looking at him when he shouldn't be. And I'm not saying that's an Odell problem. I'm saying I think that's a Baker Mayfield at quarterback issue that he needs to get over.
Yes, because if you're a quarterback that can't play with a number one receiver, then you can't be an NFL quarterback. I don't see Aaron Rodgers doesn't get panicked because Devontae Adams is on the field. Josh Allen didn't get worse when Stephon Diggs came to Buffalo. I mean, that's
got a little better.
Yeah, that's a Baker Mayfield problem. And again, I think he's going to get it figured out, but we don't got time for him to deal with his emotional problems. He's got to figure it out. Because we got some games coming up we need to win. We can't
starting
afford,
Sunday.
Yes, we can't afford to start ripping off losses because turns out people in our division are winning.
At this point, I look at a team and we'll talk about them on the next episode. The Chargers come, we're going to go out there and play the Chargers. That makes me nervous because we can't get into a shootout with anybody because we can't score. No, it wouldn't be a shootout.
It's too hard. Our offense is too hard right now. We're relying too much on Stefanski's creative scheme. At some point, we got to hit some chunk plays, some easy yards that just that loosen up the drive. It's hard to go 12 plays against an NFL defense every single time you have the ball. You got to hit some chunk plays. We can't out-trick everybody.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably a little pressure like what Josh says, because it does feel at times like they try to get, maybe it's getting Odell going early or trying to get him touches or kind of focus on trying to go his way. So Baker probably hears it from everybody about the chemistry between him and Odell. So then, in your head, you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm going to go out and show him. I'm going to go and I'm going to, make it happen. And then we've seen that hasn't worked well in our favor. I think that they still obviously have time to figure it out. Rather it be quicker than sooner, like Blake said. Bengals are 3-1. The Ravens are 3-1. Both of them look, like winning football teams in our division.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that the Bengals are that great, but I think they're going to continue to.
They're going to be in games and have a chance to win.
Yeah, exactly.
Football.
Exactly. We got to keep pace with these guys. The Steelers are washed. I'm not worried about the Steelers, but I think we're going to get into previews. I think these next 2 weeks are huge for Baker. We're going up against two quarterbacks that he's going to be getting paired to for his entire career. No,
and one thing that Baker typically plays better in these type of games where, he's going against, we saw it against Mahomes. He kind of played up for that game. Hopefully this is one of those scenarios because, he should play with a little chip on his shoulder of just the fact that, you didn't play well. I like that he came out in the press conference and
he took
pretty
ownership.
Much said, this is piss poor performance. You can't be like this, can't play like this. I got to be better. Well, this is the week to try to do that because the kid you're going up against is the guy, that broke all your records as a rookie and you've kind of been forgotten, when it comes to that talk. So I think this would be a huge week.
I guess my thing, a big reason, obviously, because I wanted to play better and I wanted to win, but I wanted to play better so there's no distractions.
I don't want to have the conversation on does he deserve an extension.
Yes, and if he goes the next 2 weeks and he continues to regress and play poorly, and Herbert lights us up, and then Kyler Murray does the Kyler Murray thing, what's the conversation going to be in 2 more weeks? If Baker has 2 more subpar games and those 2 guys that he's compared to all the time come out and light us up,
well, it's going to be if he plays poorly and we're sitting 3-3 all of a sudden, it's going to be like the world's collapsing.
And who says we're going to get lit up? Our defense has looked pretty solid the last 2 weeks.
You're definitely right. You're right.
But I'm just saying these are important weeks for Baker.
Right. And I think, and like what I was saying is, okay, so we held the Vikings to 7 points. If the Chargers come out and put up 17 and we can only put up 10, we lose. You know what I mean? Like
they gifted us 3 points.
Yes. Thank you, Sheldon Richardson.
Yes. He still plays for Cleveland.
Yes, he does.
He Chris Webbered.
Yep.
He Chris Webbered. But no, and again, before people start yelling at me saying, I think Baker's going to get turned around, I just think he needs to do it quick. We don't have time. This is the year. The Chiefs are extremely vulnerable. They're extremely vulnerable.
They could be winless almost.
Yes.
I mean, the Eagles were in that game for most of then they ended up pulling away late. But
I said this, the Chiefs loss that we all thought looked like a really good loss, every week that loss looks worse and worse.
It does. I can't believe it.
You know what I mean? Because the Chiefs are not buttoned up and they got some holes. In our division, obviously the Ravens are always going to be there, even though they should also only have 1 or 2 wins. And then the Bills. The Bills are blowing everybody out, right? The Bills are doing to teams what I thought we were going to be doing to teams.
Yeah, the Bills look like the number 1 college football team that's just blowing everybody out because they're so much better than everybody. That's just how they feel right now.
You don't shut people out in the NFL, and they've done it 2 out of the 3. They've outscored their last 3 opponents 100 and something to 14.
What was the last 2 games? Wasn't it 35-0 and 40-0?
45-0 this week, 35-0 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins, and then last week against the Texans.
That's right.
It was 50-14 or something.
Yeah.
That wasn't a football team last week.
Oh, football team.
Yeah, it was
It was Texans this week.
Yeah. So they're murdering. That's what I thought we were going to do.
Yeah.
And for some reason we're not doing it.
Yeah, I think that, the Baker thing, like you said, people are going to be after us in the comments saying, "Oh, you can't not believe in Baker." I'm still on Baker. I still think that he's going to turn it around. I still believe in him. Obviously, we want him to see him play better because we know he can play better. I think the defensive thing or the scheme of being against the Vikings probably was a factor in this game because if you look at it, Kirk Cousins went 20 for 38 for 200 yards, so he sucked too.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking the injury's playing more of a problem than what he's letting on or what anybody's saying.
Yep.
Well, whatever it is, part of this too goes to the coaches, like Stefanski, the offensive coaches. These guys, they need to get with Baker and whoever else they need to talk. They need to get this figured out.
Yes.
I mean, this needs to get corrected.
Yeah. Because
and it's stuff that I didn't think we were going to have to talk about this year.
No.
The way the second half of last year went, I thought we were good to go.
I saw a
We got to be better on third down. We were 7 of 18 on third down for 38%. That's terrible.
Yeah, with 2 wide open guys that we could have had first downs.
Right.
Didn't.
I saw a stat after posting a 15.6 QBR on Sunday. Baker's now 26 in the league in QBR with a QBR of 39.7. That's not franchise quarterback.
No, and I mean,
so he's got to turn it around.
We argue a lot. I know I do. I argue a lot in favor of Baker. And I use a lot of his stats, at least over the second half of last year, to make my arguments. And he's not giving me the stats right now to back him up.
To put that in perspective, he finished top 10 in QBR last year.
Yeah, well, he was the number 2 quarterback over the second half of the season, only behind Rodgers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, come on, Bake.
We just got to figure it out. We know you can
do it.
He's got to figure it out. Hopefully it's just the injury. Every week it gets healthier. And hopefully after this coming week against the Chargers, we're it was just one bad game. I just don't want to see it start to pile on. It seems like it's been a downward trend the last couple of weeks is what has me nervous.
I'll agree with that.
It
started off as a couple,
just a couple
touch throws that were just a little bit off.
Yep, and then all of a sudden it exploded into one dumpster fire of a game. So we got to see a reverse trend. We got to start getting better.
Yeah.
But as far as what went wrong, that's pretty much it. We ran the ball really well. Defensively, we're going to get into it.
I've got what went wrong on the defense, and it's actually nothing that I saw in the game. But the fact that Greg Newsome is already missing a game from injury kind of has me a little worried. Now, again, I know I'm not trying to overreact, but we did talk about this after we drafted him, that he had that injury history through college, and here we go taking a guy in the first round. And
I'm going to say this about injuries, though, is it's the NFL, and you should just basically expect like your corners and stuff to miss like 2 to 4 games.
I know, but I'm saying there's one.
Yeah.
That's one.
So,
you know what I mean? I just don't want it to turn into a 6-game absence or something stupid, you know?
Luckily, we got a good performance out of Greedy.
Yep, we're going to get into that. But yeah, that's which is why you got to have depth.
Yep.
So, anything else about what went wrong?
Oh man, I don't know. I think we nailed it.
I think so too.
Okay.
All right. Well, before we get into what went right, we want to remind you guys to check out SimBull. Head to SimBull.com/Dawgs, DAWGS, to play the stock market for sports. You jump on there, you put your money in, you get $10 free. You buy shares of sports teams you like. As their stock price goes up, you make money. You also make money every time they win. So if you have 10 shares of different teams, if those 10 teams win that week, you get an instant cash payout at the end. You can also check out our Pick 3 League at SimBull.com. You're going to go to the teammates section in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Then tap that. Then you're going to tap Join/Create League in the upper right-hand corner. Look for the Dawgs Podcast League. Click Join League, and then you're going to make 3 picks against the spread every week. I think so far you can join late and still do good. I have 2. in 4 weeks. I'm not doing well. I'm struggling. So when we make our picks later, don't listen to me. But check out SimBull.com, the stock market for sports. It's a lot of fun. And honestly, guys, it's kind of like I don't want to say safer way than like some of this sports betting to make money, but you can mitigate your losses more. There's
definitely
smart.
strategy involved more than luck.
Yes. It's not as much luck. It's more strategy. So check it out. It's the stock market for sports. If you're kind of a stock market nerd anyways, and you got Robinhood and you kind of do that kind of stuff, but you're also a sports guy, check them out. It's a ton of fun. We're on there. We have fun in the Pick 3 League. SimBull.com/Dawgs, DAWGS. Get your free $10 and just have yourself a good time.
Dawgs Off the Leash.
All right, so what went right in this game? The defense. Again, if you would have told us this after Tyrod was 10 of 11 against us in week 2, I don't think we would have believed it. But maybe Joe Woods listened, and he listens to our pep talk. Because all of a sudden, Myles Garrett's playing all over different places in the line. I'm seeing Myles Garrett, Takk McKinley, and Jadeveon all on the field at the same time in different places, getting pressure. We're not blitzing a ton, but we've sprinkled in more blitz than we were, and it's timely, and they're getting home, so it's making big plays. The defense is why we won. If this defense played like it did in weeks 1 and 2, we would have lost this football game. So we have to. Hats off to the defense and to Joe Woods. I think we were all really critical of him in the first 2 weeks. And he's made some big-time adjustments, and he has these guys playing really well, and that's what we wanted to see. We just wanted to see him continue to make improvements and continue to make adjustments to capitalize on the strengths of our players, and he's doing that the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And, our rushing defense
isn't
crazy good right now. I mean, they had 65 yards on 23 carries for 2.8 a carry.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Has there been a 100-yard rusher against us yet?
No.
I don't think even close. Definitely not Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
It wasn't Mark Ingram, and it wasn't David Montgomery, so absolutely not.
No. Dalvin
They're not
Cook,
even sniffing 100 yards.
Dalvin Cook had a couple nice little chunk plays for like 8-10 yards.
Just a couple.
But that was it. And we're completely shut.
And I know he was a little banged up with his ankle then, but even Madison came in and couldn't do anything. And he's a good running back too.
Yes,
so, in years past, you'd have seen these guys gashing the Browns' run defense.
Madison would probably be a starter on a lot of teams.
Yeah.
Oh,
probably.
yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. So, he's kind of like their Kareem Hunt.
And
And
it wasn't even like a one-dimensional shutdown because, like, Justin Jefferson had a nice game. I think he had 6 catches on, like, 7 targets, but Adam Thielen kind of was quiet. I think he had, like, 7 or 8 targets. He only ended up with 3 catches. So, overall, kind of I don't want to say it was a boring game, but, like, with the combination of us holding onto the ball for like 9-10 minutes at a time, and then, we're coming in, getting good pressure and getting good stops with them.
We only gave up 190 yards through the air.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, after last week, that's a lot compared to 1.
Yeah.
But in the NFL, 190 is pretty good.
And
especially when you're facing a guy like Kirk Cousins.
This offense came in as one of the hottest offenses in the league.
I think he was over 300 yards every week, the first 3 weeks.
Yeah,
at least 2 of them, if not everyone.
Another stat from Twitter from Jake Trotter. After the opening drive, Kirk Cousins was pressured 15 times on 34 dropbacks the rest of the game, 2 of 13, 0 passing yards when pressured.
He did not look comfortable back there. We were
when we finally, after that first drive, I don't know how you guys felt, but I was like, this is going to be a long day.
Yeah.
1, it was a 7.5 minute drive.
14 play.
Yeah. And they went just methodically right down the field, open guy after open guy, or a long run here and there. And it looked like we were going to have trouble all day long stopping him. And then little did I know that was not going to be the case.
It's completely opposite. Yeah.
Thankfully that was not the case. But yeah, I mean, Joe Woods, I'll give him credit. He dialed us some blitzes. You know, JOK's shown that he can be a guy that you can send
sideline to sideline.
You know, send after the quarterback. Yep. We blitzed Denzel, and he had a free, run at Kirk Cousins. So he's finally, digging into the playbook a little bit, not just sitting back and letting the defense or the offense do whatever they want.
Before we get into JOK, I think in our preview we talked about the weapons they had, especially at the receiving unit. We talked about Jefferson and Thielen, and then even KJ Osborne was their third option. Thielen was 3 catches on 8 targets, and Osborne was 3 catches on 7 targets. Yep. I mean, we let Justin Jefferson get his a little bit because, I mean, one guy is probably going to get his. You can't shut everybody down all the time unless it's the Bears. Right. You know what I mean? But we completely limited the rest of their offense. I mean, we shut it down completely. And JOK is different.
Yep.
Yes.
We haven't had a guy like that on defense in my life.
And that's what we were all hoping for. When we drafted him, we're like, this could be that guy.
He is. I mean, obviously Myles Garrett's an insane playmaker, but we've never had a guy that plays in space that looks like that. That his closing speed and his tackling, he kind of reminds me of like he's the Nick Chubb of our defense. He's real quiet, like kind of a humble demeanor at the podium. And then he comes on the field and just dogs you for 4 quarters.
If I was going to compare him to somebody the Browns have had in our past, kind of like a TJ Ward type of player that can come up, stop the run, get after the quarterback, and then you see him in coverage. He could, that type of player that we had. Obviously, I think JOK has a higher ceiling than what TJ Ward had.
And it's hard for me to say that because TJ Ward's one of my favorite Browns players of the last 20 years.
Right. So I think that JOK, I mean, he's making one of my bold predictions of Rookie of the Year on the defensive side, look like it could be a thing if he plays this way for the rest of the season.
I think I saw minimum 100 snaps or something. His PFF grade's 89.3 or something. It's like the highest in the league or something. I mean, he's playing out of his mind. And I'll tell you who else is playing well is Delpit.
Yep.
Delpit. He's an animal just on the back end of the defense, and he's almost always in the right place. Even on like a broken coverage, he's the guy that makes the tackle. He's the guy that ends up, in on that play.
The play that's really standing out to me about Delpit yesterday is they end up getting a whack roughing the passer call where Kirk tripped over the guy who was already on the ground. And the announcer's like, well, you can't go. He didn't go low. He didn't even know.
He backpedaled into him.
Yes, it was terrible. But
Delpit's
on that play,
insane.
This guy, he threw it to somebody and he was wide open and Delpit closed 25, 30 yards.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one where he laid out and
knocked it away?
Yeah.
I was like, how much ground did he just cover? Well, he covered half the field.
And we said, too, from training camp, when we saw Delpit in person, we're like, he's bigger and he's long. Like, the way he stretched out, I was like, okay, the guy can...
I was like, that play might have just saved like a touchdown or like a huge gain. And then I thought they were going to call holding, and it was a terrible roughing the passer call. It's awful. But those two are living up to the hype, and I don't want to jinx it, but my favorite thing about Delpit since he's come back is he's not hurt.
Right.
Yeah, man. And I'll tell you what.
He's played multiple games without being hurt.
We did those things yesterday. Those guys stepped up because Ronnie Harrison went out early.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? And we saw what that did to us during the Chiefs game when he went out early, but we didn't have Delpit.
Yeah.
So
we didn't have to bring in MJ Stewart.
No. Nope. And the thing, I was just looking at the stats here for JOK. I mean, the leading tackler yesterday was Malcolm Smith. On 51 snaps, he had 8 tackles. JOK only played 35 snaps, had 7.
He's all over the field.
All over the field.
And I think we have to give a big props to a guy here. Greedy Williams stepped up.
Yep.
Yes, he did.
Got his first NFL pick. And I just felt good for Greedy. He's got so much slack, even from us at times, because he hasn't been able to stay healthy.
And a lot of bad luck.
Yes. Yeah. And to see, nerve damage. You don't expect to get nerve damage in your shoulder. And to see him stick with it. And I'm sure there were times where, like, mentally it wasn't easy. And to stick with it and to come out and play like that against a high-powered offense, get a pick, he played really well.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I thought that Greedy played well. When you consider their offensive firepower that they have, we mentioned the wide receivers, but even the tight end Conklin that took over last week, and he's probably most of people's fantasy waiver wire pickups going into this week.
Did he do anything? Because I don't even know who that is.
No, he had 4. I think he might have. Let's see. Conklin, what is this? So that's the first half. But 4
catches, 18 yards.
Yeah, he lit up. I forget who Minnesota played last week.
The Seahawks.
The Seahawks, 2 touchdowns and 80 yards on 8 catches. So
fluky.
Yeah, so I think that our defense played well and our offense continued over and over again to not put them in good situations by going 3 and out or having a short drive and punting the ball back. Our coaching staff didn't put the defense in good situations either. We forgot to kind of talk about that on what went wrong. Our clock management under 4 minutes was awful yesterday. Mm-hmm. It was terrible. We got the ball back after the Vikings didn't do anything and had to turn over on downs with 1:20 left, and we gave them the ball back we let them keep one of their timeouts with 1:01 left. We took 20 seconds off the clock and put our defense right back out on the field and said, well, we couldn't get a first down. Go ahead and stop them again.
Yeah.
And it got dangerously close. I didn't like how close they ended up getting down the field, but credit that, in other recent years, the Browns defense lets them get down to the 10-yard line.
Yeah. And the defensive front's getting home with only 4 now. Tack McKinley's got, I think, 2 sacks now in the year.
He's very energetic when he's in the game.
Yes, he's playing well. McDowell's playing well. We're moving those guys up front. Jadeveon Clowney looks really good.
Yeah.
He looks really good.
Couple big things that I thought that were some key plays on defense that kind of go unnoticed was, I'm pretty sure it was Malik Jackson twice with the batted down balls in the second half, as that was just it felt like the Browns would do something on first and second down, and then it would be third down, and they'd complete the Justin Jefferson or something for a first down. And there was twice that Malik Jackson got his hand up and swatted the ball down. Those little plays like that are huge.
Yeah.
I think what was the Tack McKinley had a sack on it. Was it a third down, or I don't know if it was a third or fourth down. It was short, and he had a sack that ended up pushing him back.
He came in when Clowney had the
little rib injury.
I thought it was a hip thing.
Yeah, it was saying. A hip flexor.
I was like, man, come on. And then he was back in the next drive.
It looked real bad when it happened and everything. And then he came back in. But when he went out, McKinley came in. It's we didn't miss a beat.
No.
Yep. It was great.
I did like Kevin Stefanski finally I think it was right after Clowney came back in, and then Myles Garrett went out because he was tired, and the announcers made a comment of Garrett's going to the sideline. It was third down late in the game.
Yep.
And Stefanski was wait a minute, Myles, and called timeout.
Yes, I sent a text.
Yeah, you can't do. You got to have your best players on the field. So a good awareness of whatever coach on the sideline or whoever said, "Hey, Myles is out."
Yeah, it was 17 seconds left, third down, and Myles Garrett was on the sidelines, and I was like, this is money time.
Right.
This is why we're paying you $150. You can't suck it up for 17 more seconds?
Right.
I was freaking out. And then they called the timeout, and he went, I was like, thank God.
Right.
Who knows what happens if they don't call that timeout?
Well, a lot of times in those situations too, I think coaches, if you're in that late game situation, the offense doesn't have timeout, you're hesitant to you don't want to call timeout and give them the chance to draw up the play they want.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need that, though, because, guys do get, they were gassed. You could see, they were gassed towards the end. And we want to make sure that we're in the right position.
Well, we talked about at the end of the game, our offense wasn't doing our defense any favors.
Yeah, none at all. I mean, they were on the field. I think we controlled the possession of the game. If we look at it, 35 minutes to 24. But still, it just felt like
we just aren't capitalizing in the red zone.
Yeah.
And on fourth down tries, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. It's
but since this, what were you going to say, Justin?
You might be going the same direction. I was going to give one more guy kind of, a nod. Hey, we got a kicker.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
We got a kicker.
Yes.
I don't want to forget that.
This Give him an extension right now.
Right now. Yes. But still, I mean, perfect on the year so far.
I agree.
And kicking big kicks.
Well,
Not
they weren't chip shots.
No.
Long kicks, 48, 50.
53.
53.
Things that we wouldn't even have dreamed of trying with Cody Parkey.
No, this is last year we were bringing in Jamie Gillen to try and kick these.
He looks good. He is at least, I have faith in him to go out and make kicks now, until he.
I'm okay with doing the kick instead of being more aggressive on fourth down.
Fourth and 7.
I'm with Zach when he was talking
early
about
in the
that.
game yesterday. I felt myself on the other side of that. Now I'm like, kick the field goal, take the points. You're on the road in a very loud, hostile environment.
I know they're down though. I get,
but it was only 7-0. I was like,
but you're going to get the ball at half. Like I don't know.
But maybe Stefanski did see how quickly they went down the field and scored 2, and was like, well, if we're going to play like that today.
But yeah, the other thing is the field goals that he's making are awesome. But the thing that we kept crying about last year was even kickoffs.
Yeah.
About kicking the ball into the end zone, so they have to start from the 25, or they want to try to take it out, and we can keep them, at the 20.
Yeah.
We didn't do that at all last year. It was like starting field position was the 35-yard line. It was like middle school football, is what it felt like. So I really agree with you, Justin. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yep.
McLaughlin has been
a godsend,
awesome for us.
He's stepping up and making the kicks.
So
the other thing, and go along with that, Jamie Gillen punted the ball well yesterday.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
he caught them all.
Yeah, his average coming in, or his average was 39 yards. He had one that was 54 yards yesterday, so he needs to live up. He's got some making up to do.
Yeah.
Still haven't forgot about that botched snap.
No, but I was going to say, this is the second week in a row now that, Nick Chubb had a fine game, 21 for 100 yards. That was awesome. But there were times when he couldn't get a couple yards. He was struggling out there. The defense was keying in on him. We just weren't getting good enough push. They bring in Kareem Hunt, and it's a completely different game all of a sudden. And then when Chubb comes back in, on the next drive, now he's got running lanes.
It's really weird to say he had a quiet 100.
Yes.
But I remember watching that game thinking, man, Kareem Hunt's looked more explosive than Chubb again. And then I went and checked the stats, and I was like, well, he's got 100 yards, getting almost 5 yards a carry. I guess he's not doing that bad. It's just Kareem Hunt just looks different with the ball in his hands now.
He's more explosive. He has the more explosive,
first,
if you want to say it's a loud run. I don't know if that's how you want to, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel like he's just
where Nick Chubb's
it's violent.
It's violent. I like that word better. And he's energetic, and he shows some emotion after, a long run, whether it's getting up and signaling first down or something like that. Like Nick Chubb's just ho-hum.
He just runs it for 93 yards and then just gives the ball to somebody.
Yeah, straight.
Gives it to the ref.
Nick Chubb does a good, he bounces off of guys. He lowers his shoulder, and he kind of ping pong off people and stay on his feet. Kareem Hunt will jump right into you.
Yeah.
He will 2 feet plant your chest plate and put you down. He just jumps into guys. He's always
right.
His hair's flying, his arms are flying. He's just he's crazy.
Hunt definitely. They both break tackles, but Hunt's broken tackle was like he ran you over or ran through you, where Nick Chubb's broken tackle was like somebody hit his leg, swat his leg, and he's just strong enough that you don't even really notice it happen.
They really are the perfect complement for each other.
Yep.
I've never seen 2 running backs. These guys are so great together. Yeah, they are.
And it's a testament to how great Nick Chubb is too, that he can come out and run for 100 yards, and we're like, oh, Nick Chubb was a little ho-hum today. Oh,
yes.
He had a quiet 100. It's kind of like the LeBron thing where you're like, oh, LeBron didn't do that great today. And you check his stat line. He had
35
25, 10, and 12. And you're like, oh, shit, he had triple-double. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it was like. But I think that's pretty, pretty much one way. Obviously the defense, and then we were pretty hard on the offense early, but we did run the ball well. Control the time of possession, which does help the defense, keeps them fresh longer for the end of the game scenarios.
I had one guy I did want to shout out, and it's Hollywood Higgins.
Yep.
He came up with some big catches yesterday.
That's what he does.
It's driving me mad that they're not using him more because I don't know what it is. But when he's on the field, whenever Baker's throwing the ball to him, I mean, Higgins comes up with the plays. He does.
If it's like 3rd and 8, book it. I'm like, where's Higgins at? Get him out there because that's who it's going to go to.
No, I don't know. The offense has got some things to figure out. Yep. And just like Baker took responsibility, the media asked Kevin Stefanski about Baker's struggles, and he said, well, I struggled. So he put it on himself too. So those two got some things to work out.
Stefanski's a great head coach. He's a great leader. I have full confidence in them figuring this out. They figured it out last year.
Yep. So it started slow last year. And I just don't want to start slow because the beginning of our schedule is tougher this year than it was last year.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be sub 500 going into the bye or, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But all right, that wraps up this episode. Thanks for checking out another episode of The Dogs. Obviously, the Browns got some things they need to work on, but it's a lot easier to work on these things after a win. And we're never going to complain about being 3-1. For all you Dog Pack members, we'll see you on the After Hours show. And everyone else, we'll see you in a few days when we preview the big matchup with the Chargers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast and become an official Dog Pack member and join thedogs.com.
There's no way because he didn't forget to play football all of a sudden.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, you don't just suddenly go from being accurate to you can't hit anybody ever.
No, and we can talk about chemistry with Odell and all that. He's an NFL quarterback. When Odell is that open, it should be easy. It's a layup. There's no chemistry on it. I mean, he's at least one of them.
That pass at the end of the game was pathetic. God. It was. I don't know how else to say it. It was pathetic.
The one where he hit the DB in the back.
That was pretty bad too.
It was so bad the DB didn't even know it was there because it you know what I mean? It hit him in the back.
Right.
Yeah.